Guys, welcome to Dan Talks Football. You're in for a treat, but this football season's extra special for me because I have teamed up with BetUS. BetUS is an affiliate sponsor for Dan Talks Football this year, and they've given me the opportunity to give you free money. That's right. In the link below, just click. It's free money. Sign up to BetUS. You get 125% bonus on your first three deposits. And if you use Bitcoin, it's 200%. It's free money. I'll be using Bet US all year long. I got a great show for you. Let me hit the intro music and we're going to get started. Yes! Man, I have coffee here, even though in Las Vegas it is exactly 407 degrees outside right now. It is crazy hot out here. It is absolutely insane. You are in luck because I have a treat for you. I got a pair of guests, and there may be a possibility Big Chief Sean's joining us. He told me just a few minutes ago that he's eating a slab of rib with three strippers by the name of Bubba, Bertha, and Butter. So I don't know. I may take a while. The guests that are here ready to go. I got Keaton from Keaton Talk Sports wearing a Gronk jersey. That is awesome. Yep. What's up, brother?
Little throwback. How you doing tonight? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, man. Hey, thanks for joining us. And I have Keys, the K in the Back Talk Brothers. Keys, what's going on, brother?
Hey, Dan. Thanks for having me back. Can't wait for all the guys to get here so we can have some real fun.
Oh, man, it's going to be a treat here. Like I said, I don't know what's going on with Gooch, but, Big Chief Sean, hey, man, slab of ribs, three strippers. If your stripper name is Butter, I'm a little worried. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. But hey, big Chief Sean might like some butter. You never know. I am really excited because now me and Keys we're Chiefs fans, but in 2 months, in less than a week, the Chiefs are going to try for an epic three-peat. It's a Chiefs Ravens. It's going to be a good game. Football season is just around the corner. I can't tell you how excited I am. I'm jacked up here. But there is one story I kind of want to kick off with. It's been a story that's been kind of making the rounds here. Brandon Ayuk teaming up with his former college teammate Jaden Daniels has been together. They're working on trying to get a deal, possible trade here. I think this is a bigger story than a lot of people think, but I'll start here with Keaton. Brandon Ayuk is not reported to training camp. How big of a story is this for the 49ers?
I mean, it's a huge story. I mean, this has been going on for months now. I mean, the 49ers seem like they're not interested in bringing him back. And I know Brandon Ayuk's been on social media a lot lately, expressing how he felt or how he feels about the 49ers' current state of not really wanting him back. So, I mean, it's an exciting times. I mean, there's a lot of teams that are interested in him, like the Commanders, like you mentioned. I know the Patriots are in the rumors get him, but who knows about that. But, I mean, I'm excited to see where this thing goes. I mean, if he goes to the AFC or NFC, I think that's it's gonna improve those teams significantly, just given how gifted he is at his position.
Oh, I agree completely. I mean, I think it's a big power switch if he leaves the 49ers. And if he leaves the 49ers, I mean, that could be a big issue. But I don't want to put words in your mouth, Keys. Brandon Ayuk Ayuk. I'm always bad with names. What's your opinion on him? Is this not a big deal? Big deal? No deal? Is he going to re-sign with the 49ers? What's your opinion?
Man, I think they have too many pieces that too many mouths to feed.
Yeah, true.
You know, I think obviously it makes them better, but at the same time, you know, one of the big problems is that you bring the same guys back. You didn't win the Super Bowl with those guys. You made it to the Super Bowl, granted, but you didn't win the Super Bowl, you know, with those guys. So it's like, you know, it's like trying to pick up the same chick with the same pickup line multiple times, you know. So keep him in the NFC, you know, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah.
No, I think it's kind of a big deal because the 49ers were not a team with a lot of depth to begin with.
Mm-mm.
And they kind of got lucky because I kept on saying it all year. Christian McCaffrey's going to miss some games. He's going to miss some games, stayed healthy throughout the whole season, but he hasn't done that in about 4 or 5 years. And they're going to count on him to do that again. George Kittle's not been able to stay healthy. Deebo Samuel, I think, missed 5 games last year. So
yeah.
Trent Williams, when he missed those 3 games, that was a 3-game losing streak for the 49ers. And I think he's 35, 36. I mean, so now you lose a key young piece in Ayuk, who you know, if he goes to the AFC, he would do wonders for the Patriots. I mean, you give the Patriots a legitimate number 1 guy. There's been talk about Pittsburgh. I think Washington would be a lot of fun.
That would be.
It would be a lot of fun. It would definitely would be a lot of fun. Raven 76 be more salute Dan in the chat. Thank God it's Friday, yo. It's coming 2 months in less than a week. Chiefs Ravens to kick off the season.
Already,
it's coming soon, man.
I know.
Soon, man. I'll tell you what, I don't want him in the AFC. I thought he'd look good in the Chiefs uniform, but you know,
the NFL does not want him. If he ends up with the Chiefs, man, good luck.
I don't think they're. I don't think the Chiefs. You never know, but he can come to Detroit on a 1-year deal. We got some cap space. That actually would be very scary because who are the 2 teams in the NFC Championship game? One team got better, and the 49ers got worse. Oh God,
that's true. Yeah.
I mean, oh God,
could take a step back this year too. I can see it.
I do think the 49ers will take a step back. I really do. There's not a lot of depth on that team. I thought drafting Pearsall, even though I liked the kid coming out of Florida, I thought it was a mistake. So Raven 7-6 more, man. I'm telling you right now, like that Chiefs Ravens game. By the way, if you're not aware, Raven 7-6 be more, I will be doing play-by-play and commentary live during that Chiefs Ravens game. I have to get signed up for. I don't know if I heard about the lawsuit. It just released. I don't want to go into too many details, but the Sunday Ticket is won a lawsuit against the NFL or. I don't know, but anyway, I get signed up for it because here in Vegas, I got lots of access to Raiders games, but nobody wants to see that. So I'm saying it now. Lions or Packers can represent the NFC in the Super Bowl this year. The Lions are my pick. You know what? I'm going to start with Keaton Talk Sports here, man. Do you have an NFC pick as a Super Bowl team already?
I'm still working on. I'm actually still in the process of working on that. But if I had to guess as of right now, like you said, I think the 49ers will take a step back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see how Detroit comes back this year because, if you look at last year's NFC title game, they was up 24-10. If you just kick the field goal there instead of going for it twice and then keeping the 49ers in that game, the Lions probably would be in the Super Bowl last year. So it's how motivated is the Detroit Lions? And obviously, Jared Goff just got his bag, so how's he going to perform this year? So I'm curious to see how Detroit comes out. I mean, I expect them to. I mean, I think they have a chance to be a number 1 seed in the NFC, in my opinion.
Oh, I couldn't agree more here. Keys, do you have a NFC pick? I've been joking around that the Lions are your new team because you've been really high on them. But
don't sleep on the Rams either. I think they're a sleeper.
That's a fun team. The Rams are a fun team as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because Keaton's right there. Like, it's kind of hard in my mind though. I make the joke that the 49ers are either in the NFC Championship or they're really injured and they're like a 4-win team every year. They've had some great injury luck or whatever you want to call it the last 2 or 3 years to where you almost can't say that. But it's like in the back of my mind it's 49ers, Lions, and Eagles, right? Like my brain automatically discounts the Cowboys because they're fool's gold, but yeah, I mean, I really couldn't argue someone who said the Rams or Packers as well. But in my mind, it's going to come down to the 49ers, Lions, or Eagles.
Those are 3 really good teams. I think if you were to play Madden, and I haven't played Madden in years, but if you were to list the Madden rankings, I would put the Eagles with the highest talent. I mean, look at how much talent they got across the board. I mean, that team's absolutely loaded. But that collapse at the end of the season, remember they were 10-1.
Yeah, after that 49er game, they just went downhill.
They beat the Chiefs on Monday night, and everybody hated that. The coach starts talking crap to the fans. I dismissed it. Key said, "I don't know. I think in the locker room there's some issues, and the team just fell apart. They finished 11-6. They were 10-1, finished 11-6. Tampa Bay beat them by like what was it, like 32-7?
Like 9 or something like that.
Nobody wanted to tackle. The offense looked bored. It was just weird. And I've been a big Fangio fan for a long time. I love the Fangio fit with the Eagles defense. Okay, I'm 12 minutes into a show. I'm already having a brain freeze. Kellen Moore's offense in Philly. I don't know if that's a fit because the Eagles have been such a run-oriented team. You give a lot of money to Saquon Barkley, but you bring in an offensive coordinator who likes to throw the ball around. And I'm not seeing that. But last year the problem with the Eagles was that defense just collapsed. So it's going to be very, very, very interesting. Funk says I think Purcell will be good for that. Oh, I think so too. I think Purcell's an excellent fit. It kind of seems like he has to be an Ayuk replacement, but if Ayuk stays in San Francisco and Purcell plays well his rookie season, that it's going to be a fun team. It's going to be a lot of fun. One Pride 40, welcome, brother. Rams are a good one too. College football is better. By the way, One Pride is a Michigan State fan base there in Michigan. For those of you who are not aware, Keaton Talk Sports came on last time and said Ohio State would win 15 games in the NFL. He says they are that good. They're that good. I don't normally want to do this, but I am going to switch gears to college football. Keys, I know you're an Iowa fan. Is there anything in college football that you're seeing that stands out this year? Or I just throw you a curveball that you weren't expecting? You don't have anything. I wouldn't be mad either way. I'm throwing you a tough one.
That stands out? I don't know that I can talk about that one, but Iowa does have a new offensive coordinator. He may or may not be worse than Brian Ferentz, but, at least there's some optimism that the offense will outscore defense and special teams.
I don't know. I think you're asking a lot. I think your
bar is low.
I mean, I think you're asking a lot for your offense to outscore your special teams and defense. That might be a little too much to ask there. But on a serious note, Iowa's defense is phenomenal.
Oh, yeah, really, really good.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Keaton, can you rant a little bit about your Buckeyes and how good that team looks so far?
This is the year. I mean, this has to be the year. There's no excuses really this year. I mean, it really comes down to okay, we already know, last year they lost to Michigan. The last 3 years they've lost to that team up north. Now Jim Harbaugh is not there no more. So it's really just about that game at the end of the year. How are they going to come out? Everybody's going to be picking Ohio State to win because, like I said, the talent. But Michigan, looking at the team, Michigan is a team I'm going to be watching for because I think his name is Sharon Moore. I think that's his name. That's taken over as coach. He did a phenomenal job when Jim Harbaugh went out with that suspension. I think he was out 3-4 games last year, I believe.
I think it was 3 towards the end of the season.
Something like that, yeah.
I don't even remember. I think he came back for Ohio State. I should have known this. It was kind of a hey, listen, I pride myself, all questions answered, anything goes, but college football, I'm not an expert.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, this is a no excuse year for Ohio State. I just think they have to beat Michigan. I just think if they don't get it done this year, I mean, Ryan Day, like I said, I think he might be his last year. I think he might be on the hot seat. So we'll see. I mean, can't overlook Michigan, but I think we can definitely end that streak of losing them the last 3 years. Plus the game's at home, so we'll see. It should be an interesting game for sure.
I will say this. I looked at Michigan's schedule. And,
it's tough.
Oh, God. I seriously could see 4 losses. They play week 2. They play Texas. By the way, I looked this up. Texas is a 3.5-point favorite at Michigan. And here's the thing about Texas. They have a guy with the name on his back with Manning who's doing what I'm doing. That's sitting down. He's not even playing. Texas is so loaded. They have a guy that plays quarterback. His last name is Manning, sitting on the bench. That's how loaded Texas is. They got Texas. They have, by the way, if you haven't been paying attention, Oregon is building something.
Oh yeah, true. They're gonna be good. You got USC. There's a lot of talk that Nebraska and Wisconsin are building some things. And then, of course, you got Ohio State. I seriously could see Michigan going 8-4, maybe 7-5, and just blowing that whole thing up. 3 games for buying a kid a burger. Yeah, I don't exactly know what the whole thing was about, but I will say this. I think I've been kind of predicting Harbaugh to come back to the NFL. I have to admit, I didn't think the team would be the Chargers, and it'll be a fun fit. So. By the way, Ravens 7-6 be more. Nobody wants this to happen. If the Ravens beat the Chiefs in the season opener, I wouldn't care. I care more in the postseason if we beat the Chiefs. John Harbaugh. Oh, God. I am really surprised that more people – there's been a lot of negative talk about Harbaugh. Keys, let me ask you this here, because I think both of us have a lot of respect for the Ravens organization. Are you surprised that we're seeing John Harbaugh must go comments? Because I've seen it not just from 76B more in the chat, but I've seen it from other Ravens fans that are looking for a coaching change. Is that something that could possibly happen? I mean,
I'll respond and say a couple things. One, I would love it if that happened. So that should tell Ravens fans all they need to know, as far as that response is. But, if you're looking at 2 perennial playoff teams, and one of them actually has a legitimate, case to get rid of their head coach, it would be the Bills, not the Ravens, right? John Harbaugh hasn't been the reason that the Ravens have lost those games. It's generally been... and if you want to say getting away from the run game, that's fine. But at the same time, it also doesn't give Spags, because we're talking about getting past the Chiefs in the playoffs, basically, right? Not giving Spags enough credit for for his defense stopping the run enough to where with Patrick Mahomes' offense out there, you have to kind of get away from it a little bit if you're not getting, that constant, success. And I think one thing is that Ravens fans and the Ravens as a team just did not play from behind very much. They're not comfortable doing it because of that. They don't have the experience. They don't have a large volume of time where they play from behind. The running game's a hell of a lot easier when you're playing with a lead than it is when you're playing from behind. And, I think that in some ways, Ravens fans are kind of missing some of these things, right? So that would be my answer. If John Harbaugh goes, that's going to make the Ravens worse, and I wouldn't be sad for it. I think on the opposite hand, if Sean McDermott left and he got replaced with someone like John Harbaugh or even Bill Belichick, I think instantly a much better team.
No, I agree with you completely about the Bills because I think McDermott. I think McDermott's actually on the hot seat, and that's not a popular take, but I think he is on the hot seat. Keaton, man, let me ask you this: have you seen a lot of these comments? Because I've been seeing quite a bit of John Harbaugh must go. If they can't get it done. I mean, you got a 2-time MVP quarterback. You have a great defense. Now you got Derrick Henry. What are your thoughts, man?
I mean, this John Harbaugh experience has been going on for a minute. Like, it's like they've been knocking on the door for quite some time to try to get to the Super Bowl. Like last year, like I thought the Ravens would get to the Super Bowl. Like I thought that this would have been the year. Well, they're at home. They can probably beat the Chiefs, but you have to really give the Chiefs defense a lot of credit in that game last year. They really shut down Lamar Jackson and company, made life hell for him in that game. But I mean, people want to blame John Harbaugh for, the Ravens' failures. It's like, can we look at Lamar Jackson and be like you have to be better as, in the playoffs. Like in the regular season, he's phenomenal. Like he can run, he can do whatever he wants. But then once the postseason comes around, when things get tight, like the Chiefs played phenomenal defense, he wasn't able to figure out that Chiefs defense throwing the football. You got to be able to make plays throwing the football in the postseason if you want to get to the Super Bowl. So it's like when we're going to look at Lamar Jackson as the reason why the Ravens lost, I think he was the reason they lost last year. He didn't play well at all. You know what I'm saying? And then that big turnover they had, I can't remember the receiver's name who –
Zay Flowers.
Yeah, Zay Flowers got the ball knocked out of his hands at like the 1 yard line. Like that was like a big play. So it's like, look at the receivers' turnovers and then look at Lamar's play. So like, I don't think it's all on Harbaugh as Ravens fans think it is, but I just think it's more than just that.
Well, the Zay Flowers, by the way, I want to talk about the Zay Flowers right before that fumble. He got the ball to the 7, got a taunting penalty against L'Jarius Sneed for spinning the ball right in his face and then standing above him. He doesn't get that taunting penalty. They go from the 7 back to the 22. Then he extends out and L'Jarius Sneed pops the ball out of his hand. If Flowers doesn't get that taunting penalty, they probably score a touchdown. The game is finally different. So the Trek reviewer comes in. Oh, the Trek reviewer, welcome, brother, man. Patrick Mahomes
He probably wants no 3P. I agree with that, but
oh god, that's awesome. You know what? I always pride myself on being able to say anything goes, and so we're talking a little bit of college, but I'm so disappointed with the Clemson Tigers. They took a major step back. Yeah, the transfer portal, they've bought nobody. They're the only Power 5 conference to not bring a single player over in the transfer portal. And Clemson's kind of fallen off it's kind of sad because I thought there was a possibility of Clemson joining the SEC and making the SEC a 16-team conference. By the way, if you're not aware, this has been going on for a while. The SEC wants to follow an NFL format with 4-team divisions, and then they would have an SEC Final Four championship. And just think about the money. Like, I mean, who wouldn't? Like, I would probably do like the pay-per-view just for the SEC Final Four. That would be a lot of fun. But right now they only have 14 teams. I figured it would be Clemson and one other team, but with Clemson falling apart, and yeah, it's kind of a shame. But yeah, I mean, Ravens 7-6 more. I it's funny because I don't agree that it's Harbaugh's fault. Flowers made a rookie mistake. Young players make mistakes. Lamar Jackson hasn't really stepped up, but whose fault is it that you stopped running the ball against the Chiefs? Is it the Chiefs defense, which did a really great job? Is it Harbaugh situational coaching? Is it just Lamar Jackson not being able to get it done?
It's crazy, because if you think about the head coaches out there, right? What head coach in the NFL, including Bill Belichick, who is sitting out this season, hasn't had fans questioning, his ability to win it all, right? And until Andy Reid, until Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid won that first Super Bowl, Andy Reid had 20 some years of Andy Reid isn't good enough, right? Sean McVay's won one. How many has, how many is he winning? Is he the top coach in the NFL? Do Rams fans, point out, has he had consistently winning season to every season? If you look at all the coaches, right? And you can include Belichick post Brady and all the questions that get thrown about them as they get picked apart. And I did it with McDermott there, a little bit, right? Like, what fans have to think of, every head coach has deficiencies. We know Andy Reid's deficiencies. Eagles fans know Andy Reid's deficiencies. You can talk about, look at Kyle Shanahan and his deficiencies, right? How many Super Bowls has he still made it to? How close has he came to winning, right?
28-3.
And so, like, who are you going to replace John Harbaugh with who's better? This isn't like, when the Chiefs had Alex Smith for 4 or 5 seasons, and he turned the Chiefs into a perennial, winner. They were making the playoffs with Alex Smith like they hadn't in 20, 30 years, right? But it became quite evident that Alex Smith was not going to get them over the hump. And that's where you get blessed with Patrick Mahomes. But how many head coaches out there, right? Because there are some coaches who can get you to the playoffs every year. Mike Tomlin, right? But how many of them can elevate your team to get you to the AFC or NFC championship like an Andy Reid or Bill Belichick? So who the hell are you going to replace John Harbaugh with? Because he's as close to those guys as you can get. So who the hell are you going to get who elevates the Ravens? That guy's not out there because John Harbaugh is so close to those guys. That would be my retort.
That's awesome. Keys is on fire. I gotta get that on fire thing, man.
That's the thing too. It's like, you watched that game last year, the Ravens Chiefs. It's like the Ravens, like, their defense played phenomenal the whole game.
They held it. If you told me before the game the Ravens are gonna hold the Chiefs 17 points, I'm like, well, congratulations. Go to the Super Bowl.
It's like, it's just crazy. It's like their defense played phenomenal. Lamar Jackson didn't play well. It's like, it's literally that simple. You're the best player on the team. Like, you're supposed to elevate your team to a high level. Like, you're at home. You have home field advantage. You literally had everything going your way that year, and you still couldn't get it done when it mattered. It's like you just forgot how to play. You just forgot how to throw the football in that game against a team that you're trying to knock off that you've been struggling with the past few years. It's like, you want to look at Harbaugh, like you say, like, who's going to replace him? Belichick ain't going there and doing that. I mean, who's out there really?
By the way, Denver Gator. So the reason why I took Keys a little bit of time, he's using AI. The beard's there. This is AI Keys here. And Keys, it was throwing me off because I was like, something looks really different about Keys. By the way, Keys will have a full beard in about 4 hours. It grows that fast. Yeah, I'm so jealous of Keys' ability to grow a beard. I could sit here and grow the same amount of facial hair in like 2 years. So Keys has a fantastic beard. Keys, when are you bringing the beard back, by the way?
Hey man, I just got rid of this. It has been 100 degrees here basically every day the last week. And this is like 20-degree difference. So this is my air conditioning.
Are you
Winter time. It'll come back in winter time.
Okay.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, by the way, like he has more facial hair now than I could grow in like 2 months. Like I can't grow facial hair. I don't know what it is.
I only got the stash.
You looking sharp though, man. Keaton's looking sharp, man. I like that, man. I can't grow facial hair. It's embarrassing. Raven 76B more, man. You lit something, man. He goes, that's a Ravens fans complaint. We don't stick to our pedigree. John Harbaugh is this team Achilles. Sorry. Hey, do not apologize. I love it. This has been great.
I've been saying this too. It's like as many years Belichick has been here with the Patriots. It's like last year, that was it for me. I was like, there's got to be a change. It's like, what has Belichick done since Brady's left? Like, Brady went down to Tampa in his first year and won the Super Bowl. Belichick hasn't done anything. It's like, and then last year, you didn't put any talent around Mac Jones after he had a stellar rookie season. He just declined the last 2 years. I'm like, it's time for a change. It's just like, and I think Pats fans are obviously we're on board with that too. As great as Bill Belichick is, it was time for a change. So, yeah.
Yeah, Raven 76B more is on fire today. Can't be scared. Sometimes change is better instead of being stagnant with John Harbaugh. Plus, you're speaking on unknown of coaches out there. That's an unfair statement. I don't think it's an unfair statement, Raven 76B more, is that here's the deal. Yeah, maybe you're stagnant, but stagnant's getting into an AFC championship game, having the number 1 seed. That's not bad. As a Chiefs fan who sat through a 2-14 season, trust me, it's better. People hated Marty Ball in the 90s. I'm not sure how old you are, 7'6" Ravens be more, but in the 90s we had Marty Ball. Couple of 13-3 seasons, and we'd bomb in the playoffs. Then he left, and we had some 4-12 seasons. Trust me, I'd rather get to the playoffs and lose than go through a 4-12 season. I mean, Keaton, let me ask you this here. What's more enjoyable, losing in the playoffs or going through last season?
Oh, losing the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. And as far as being an unfair statement, I mean, if there's a guy out there that you would want instead, I mean, if there's a guy out there, like when Andy Reid was available, the Chiefs were like, we want Andy Reid. Dallas wanted Mike McCarthy for whatever reason. I mean, he has. I think it's a fair statement, to be honest with you, is that who are you getting? The only name I could think of off the top of my head that I would love to see, if I was a Ravens fan, that I would love seeing there would be Mike Vrabel. I think that would be fun.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that.
And John,
Yeah,
by the way,
I mean, has he even gotten farther? You know what I mean? Like,
you know what Vrabel's doing right
Harbaugh,
now?
though?
You know what Vrabel's doing right now? I just found this out last week. He's just doing some consulting with the Cleveland Browns. Like, he's just hanging out. That's it.
He's got to get a job. He's got to get a coaching job. There's no way he should still be like. I mean, I get a Belichick might be gone for a year, but Vrabel, come on, like he should be coaching somewhere right now.
He's
was
getting his foot in the door for when Stefanski gets fired.
I do think that could happen too. But yeah, he's just doing, it's a consulting gig, and I have no idea, the financial terms. But that's all he's doing. He's just hanging out with the Cleveland Browns, which I thought was kind of funny. So yeah, mm-hmm. that I'll be honest with you. I think firing Vrabel I think it's something that's going to backfire. I've said this and I'll stand by it. Matter of fact, I have ESPN pulled up. So the way I do my thing is I have 2 screens here. One monitor, 2 screens pulled up here. So if you ever see me looking off, I'm looking at myself because I look good. But I also have ESPN here on the other side, and they're tweaking Will Levis's mechanics. And I'm going to say this right now. If you're learning a new offensive scheme and you have playmakers – and you're worried about your quarterback's mechanics, that's a big problem. So I'm going to say firing Vrabel, I think it's going to backfire. Tennessee's my pick to have the number one. Tennessee is my favorite to have the number one pick, and I think Mike Vrabel would be off the top of my head. Mike Vrabel's the only guy I can think of off the top of my head that would be a nice fit for Baltimore.
I agree. I can see that.
Yeah, Keys looks like somebody drew. That's very funny. I am jealous of Keys' beard because I can't grow one myself, so I'm super jealous of that here. Funk says you want to get Andy off his game, just put a cheeseburger standard.
He's all about them. Yeah.
Andy Reid doesn't mind, man. Andy Reid doesn't mind. I don't know how many of you. I know I sent this to Keys. Keaton's kind of younger. There was a Taylor Swift parody video of "You Can't Win with Andy Reid." It was by Eagles fans because Andy Reid would always fail in the playoffs, and the rule was Andy Reid could get you to the playoffs. He couldn't win a Super Bowl. He had to come to Kansas City to do that. But I mean, when you're
barbecue,
yeah. But Harbaugh wanted Lamar to play Mahomes style. Yeah, I don't Raven 76B more. This bothers me because I remember a couple years ago they were 14-2. They had the number one seed and they lost to the Titans. I think it was 2019. Do my history right? And they threw the ball 59 times. It was Lamar's first MVP season. They threw the ball 59 times. And he had a couple turnovers and they totally panicked. And by the way, this is the reason why you made an offensive coordinator change. And I do want to bring up, since I'm going to bring this up here, because one other topic here, and I'm kind of throwing another curveball at Keys and Keaton. One thing I've been seeing in social media, and I've talked about this before here. I'll start off with Keaton. One thing that's been lighting up some of the TV talking heads, I'm not going to say who, but is Aaron Rodgers skipping training camp. Is that a big deal to you? I mean, does Rodgers really need to be there? Apparently, a lot of talking heads say it is. I don't think so, but I'm going to know your opinion. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I mean, Rodgers is was he a former MVP? I don't remember the last time he won MVP, but I mean, he has a right to make his own decisions. But I mean, like the Jets have, they brought in a lot of new guys, especially in free agency and the drafts. It's like you want to be able to build that team chemistry with those new players, and plus, like all this expectation going on with the Jets. People talking about them winning the Super Bowl potentially. It's like it's put up or shut up this year for the Jets. And it's like if they don't do anything this year, if Rodgers somehow isn't back to his form after tearing his Achilles, like this is just my personal opinion as a Patriots. I just don't buy the hype with this team. I just really don't. Like I don't think Aaron Rodgers is the same player. I don't. You can't trust them to stay healthy, even though Jets fans think they're going to win like 12, 13 games. I just think it's ridiculous. Like the type of hype that they're getting for a team that hasn't done anything. I mean, you haven't made the playoffs since 2010, 11. So it's like
I think it's been a while.
It's just ridiculous. I just don't get the hype. Rodgers is a good player, but it's like Jets fans are just relying on him to be the savior of his team. I just don't see it. And then you also have an injury quarterback and Tyrod Taylor sitting behind you, who's dealt with his fair share of injuries throughout his career. So it's like, is it really an upgrade over the quarterbacks you had last year? Like, yeah, you can look at the names and be like, yeah, it's an upgrade, but it's yet to be determined. So we'll see.
So Keaton said Ohio State would beat the Jets. So what is your opinion, Aaron? Aaron Rodgers in training camp is a big deal. No deal. Raven 76B more. He's on fire today. Thinks A-Rod should be there.
I agree.
Yeah, I listen. I'm leaving it to Saleh and Rodgers. Like, I think that I think his previous trip to Egypt to there's no dolphins there to be having sex, so I don't know, maybe there's some kind of scorpion sex sound that brings some kind of healing or extra power or whatever. But I mean,
Oh man.
I don't think it's a huge deal. I think they probably got a lot of what they needed last preseason, or past last year's off season and training camp and OTAs and stuff. But I'll say this: I think it might actually be more helpful in that if Rodgers is done or goes down again, then the backup who's going to be the starter, he's already got those extra reps, and they're starting to build that chemistry because as Keaton's saying, there's no guarantee that Rodgers is going to come back 2 to 3 years ago form. I do think that they will have a really good season though if he does, like if he is anywhere close to it, because we saw how close they were with the scrubs that they put out there at quarterback. And I do have some, confidence in Robert Saleh until, Aaron Rodgers is healthy this season and still plays at a fairly high level. And if they still flame out, then, I'll have seen it, and then I'll have lost all confidence in both of them. But for now, I don't think it's a big deal. I think Aaron Rodgers has to be in the right headspace, which, dolphin sex sounds or scorpion sex sounds, whatever it takes, let him get there.
Yeah. The reason why I'm kind of high on the Jets is that I love the defense. I mean, they got studs at 3 levels, but I like what they did in the offensive line. They drafted Olu Fasanu in the first round. They didn't go after a skill. Yeah. Because if I remember correctly, you kept saying they're going to get Bowers, if I remember right, Keaton. Yeah, and I thought they should have gone offensive line. And then as the draft was coming up, I'm like, I could see the Jets going for that bright, shiny object, getting a receiver or, going after Bowers, which I because they improved their offensive line. You have a good offensive line from the offensive line issue with the Jets last year was a bad thing, but the quarterback play was even worse. Or there wasn't really any excuse for that level of quarterback play. But you improved the offensive line. Me and Keith both have major man crushes on Breece Hall. That guy could be a monster with just average quarterback play, but. I think I'm a little higher on the Jets than you are. I'm not sure Ohio State beats them. I'm just the AFC East is going to be a lot of fun. Matter of fact, I tried to find it again because I dismissed it. I saw this about an hour ago on social media where a Dolphins fan was talking about all the things. What was it? Pocket presence. Getting out the ball quickly, play recognition. There was like a whole list of things that he does better than Patrick Mahomes. And I'm like, what the hell are you? It was this long, because there's a big deal about Miami and but the AFC East is going to be a lot of fun because you got the Jets. Keaton said Ohio State would beat them. I think they could be a playoff team. Keys is like, you don't know. You got the Bills. All 3 of us are in agreement that Sean McDermott's on the hot seat. Like,
I mean, you could say the same thing about Roberts. I mean, I think he's on the hot seat too. If he doesn't,
all of them definitely on the hot seat. Yeah. I mean, 3 straight losing seasons in a major media market. I mean, Denver Gator. You let Rodgers stay away. This team and staff aren't part of it. Yeah, you got this major media market. 3 straight. 7-win seasons? I think they went 7-10. Now you got Rodgers. The expectations are Super Bowl. You haven't been to the playoffs since 1894. I mean, people and Dolphins fans. I should have brought the post up. It was so comical. Dolphins fans are comparing Tua to Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, I should. I wish I would have saw. I saw it. I just dismissed it, and then right before the show, I was going to try and find it because I wanted to show you guys because I know what you guys are thinking. Dan, you're just making this up. No, there is some Dolphins fan who had this laundry list of things that Tua does better than Mahomes, and at first I was going to respond like, none of these things are true. But anyway, I don't do that. But yeah, that defense scares the shit out of me, and I also really like Breece Hall in the offensive line, but Rodgers is a massive unknown. Great point with Rodgers starting or not game one. So why is everybody dumping on Penix pick? Cousins injured way later in the season. Denver Gator, that's a great point because I did the draft live. I know Keaton was floored by it. Keys, you know what? I'm throwing you another curveball here. Michael Penix Jr., the quarterback of Washington. I had a big crush on him. I know you didn't follow the draft that much, but I know you did know a little bit about Penix. How surprised were you that the Falcons drafted a quarterback at the 8th pick in the draft? So I apologize again for throwing you a curveball here.
Yeah, this is one that I had my initial reaction on, and I've kind of went back and forth on it, because I think on the one hand, Kirk Cousins is clearly only coming in there because he's planning on being the guy, but when you get looking at that contract, he was probably only going to be there the first 2 years anyway. The contract looked like it was basically, a 2-year contract with like a 2-year option if they wanted to go that route and somehow keep him. I think that if Cousins leaves and Penix doesn't work out, and it's going to be on Cousins to make this thing work, right? Because he signs this contract and he talks about, this is where he wants to retire or whatever. I believe he said it was, it's like his family, like this is where they want to settle down or whatever. So I think, you kind of put yourself in a weird situation with future free agents when you do things like that. But on the flip side, the more, I thought about it, the more that I read, it's like, if you believe in the guy, because with Cousins, if Cousins does what you brought him in to do, you're not getting close to, replacement quarterback next year, 2024 or 2025. So you got to make a huge, draft capital investment in another year or so to get that kid to come in to have under, Cousins. So I understand why they said, no, we're just going to do it this year. We got the pick. We don't want to have to blow the capital in a year or two. I just think that, kind of the way it worked out, just kind of, it's not the way I would be comfortable with doing it. And I wouldn't be comfortable as, a Falcons fan, but hey, in 2 years, if he's the guy and Kurt is gone and, Kurt gave him a couple, playoff runs in the meantime, no one's going to really care.
No, I agree with that. I just remember when it happened, I was just absolutely floored because as soon as they signed Cousins,
give him another weapon. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they would go on defense because they were last in the NFL in sacks. And after they signed Cousins, I said, well, Dallas Turner's the pick here. And every single mock draft I had was Turner. But, Denver Gator, says, Rodgers is probably going to start day one. Cousins is on board to start day one, but nobody knows for sure. Keys, you brought up a great point. I wish I would have said this draft night. Hey, you don't have to give up a ton of draft capital later. You get your guy now while you have the draft pick to do so. That's a really great point. I wish I would have said that draft night because I was just stunned. I really was. I Denver Gator. I don't think maybe I did dump on the Falcons, but more than anything, I was just stunned. I really just, you're dead last in the NFL in sacks. No defensive player was off the board when they picked at 8. So, but yeah. I mean, it is kind of a smart move. And in hindsight, I'm kind of thinking about it. Yeah, if Penix is your guy, what, in 2026? That would, 2-3 years. That could be a really good move, and maybe he learns something. Maybe he picks up something from. I've always been a fan of letting a quarterback sit for a year. I don't think Caleb Williams was anointed the starter by the Chicago Bears before he even went to training camp. I thought that was a mistake. I like what Washington's doing with Jaden Daniels. Like, hey, he's got to earn it. But let's face it, Jaden Daniels is going to start day one. Keaton, I don't want to put words in. You're the Patriots fan here, but the way I understand it is Jacoby Brissett's going to be the starter, right?
I think he's going to be starter to start the season at least. I think it's the right move. I mean, Drake May, he has looked good so far, but I think the smart move is to just let it happen slowly. Don't throw him out there to start. Just let him learn behind a guy that knows the system and stuff like that. I mean, Jacoby Brissett is not a bad quarterback. He's a serviceable quarterback who I think doesn't be himself too much. I think he'll make the right play when it matters. So we'll see. So we'll see what happens there.
7-6 be more unless you're I'm always a fan of having the quarterback sit. CJ Stroud is my quarterback number one. I had no idea he was going to be that good that soon. I really thought there'd be more of a learning curve. But I still stand on my pre-draft prediction. Vikings should have grabbed Penix instead of JJ. You know what? I have my opinion on that here. I'm gonna pass that off here to my guests first here. Keaton here. What's your take on Denver Gators' comment here that the Vikings should have grabbed Penix instead of JJ? They would have had to trade up.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, look, he hit me. Penix. I had some of my mock draft process. I had Penix going to Minnesota. So I was like, look at the weapons that he has to work with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, all those guys. If like Penix does have a strong arm despite his injury history, but I mean JJ McCarthy, in my opinion, some people have their pros and cons about him, but like he's a guy that really hasn't been asked to throw the ball much at Michigan, just given the talent that they had there. So like he's not going to put the ball really in harm's way. Now there's going to be some growing pains, obviously, like there is with every rookie quarterback. But I think JJ McCarthy, in my opinion, was the right pick. I think he's in the right situation with the Vikings. And then, like I say, you still have those two, wide receivers to work with offensively, and a defense that you just got Dallas Turner for that defense, which is going to make that defense better too. So, I mean, you just never know. Minnesota could be a surprise this year, but you just never know in that division. That's going to be an interesting division as well this year, the NFC North.
Yeah, that division is going to be a lot of fun. And I misquoted Denver Gator. He's saying if the Falcons wouldn't have taken him, I wasn't talking. Oh, okay. It's kind of funny though, Denver Gator. In the last 25 years, the only two quarterbacks that thrown for over 4,500 yards in back-to-back seasons was Michael Penix Jr. and some guy I played at Texas Tech who's with the Chiefs. I can't think of his name, but so whoever that guy is, he's probably not doing anything.
He's worse than Tua.
He's definitely. By the way, I really wish I would have found that comment and I would have brought it up because it was like 4 or 5 different things that this guy said Tua's better than Mahomes on, and Dolphins fans are like, yeah, we got a chance this year, and there's all sorts of hype around the Dolphins, and it's funny because I'm drinking coffee. It's 500 degrees outside. I'm bouncing all over the place. I get it. Thanks for trying to keep up with me here because I'm all over the field here. I know this. I'm sorry. I mean, we were talking about Rodgers. Now I'm talking about Tua, JJ McCarthy, but so I'm bouncing all over the place, guys. So thanks for keeping.
I legit don't get this, right? Because all right, you bring up Rodgers, Keaton obviously, seen Brady. We've seen Mahomes, we saw the tail end of Montana, and Dolphins fan, well, the older Dolphins fans saw Marino, or they've seen the highlights of Marino. Even the younger ones have seen the highlights of Marino because that's basically all they've had the last 30 years to get excited about Dolphins football on. And it's crazy, right? Like, we see all these other quarterbacks come in, right, Dan? And it's like you can pretty much tell fairly instantly which of these guys don't have it from having seen Mahomes for 5 or 6 years. So, and Keaton, I'm assuming it's the same way with Brady. Like it doesn't take you 3 seasons to see, Mac Jones or Jimmy Garoppolo or whoever to know, having seen Brady. And so it's like, how the hell as a Dolphins fan are you going to have watched Dan Marino, who might actually, rings aside, might be my quarterback number 1 of all time. Like, how are you going to see Dan Marino and then still prop up Tua after you've freaking seen Dan Marino? Like, I don't get it. Like, you should see, after having seen Dan Marino, you should see Tua and understand where he's actually legitimately at. But maybe that's just like the spirit of the era we live in 2024, where it's so easily for us to deceive ourselves in all of life.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up because CJ Stroud, you looked at him like that's your guy. He has it. I'm not seeing that with Keaton. You're an AFC East fan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Tua's the best quarterback in that division, right? Hands down.
I mean, he's on us the last, like, for some reason, he's on us the last 2-3 years. But, I mean, like I've been saying with the Dolphins, it's like they start well in the regular season and then they collapse once December comes around. It's like, I don't think Tua, like I said, I don't think he deserves the bag. Like, I've been saying that for a while now. Like, why do you think the Dolphins haven't really gave him his money yet? Like, if they really believed in him, he would have gotten that bag months ago. So it's like,
put Josh Allen on the Dolphins.
Oh God.
Yeah. Like shoot.
I still go back to that week 17 game. I still go back to that. Or week 18. Final game of the season.
Week 18.
Dolphins win. They're the 2 seed. They get to host a playoff game in Miami. If they lose, they have to come to Kansas City. It was negative 800 degrees. It was colder in that Chiefs game than it was on Pluto. It was that cold. Tua had like 15 layers on. That's why he didn't play that well. He couldn't move. He had so many layers on. And it was anyway, like that. And by the way, the Bills only scored, if I remember correctly, the score was, I think, 21-17, 21-20. Bills only scored 21 points. One of them was like a 95-yard punt return with he broke like 6 or 7 tackles. But Raven76B More asks a phenomenal question that I want to get your opinions on before I interject here. And I'm going to try to stay on focus here. I just downed a cup of coffee, so hopefully my ranting will be focused now. All right. I'll start with Keys here. What are your predictions on Tua and the Dolphins situation?
I don't think he's getting the deal he wants. Maybe a Daniel Jones deal, but as a non-Dolphins fan, I would absolutely laugh if Tua got the Trevor Lawrence deal.
That we didn't even talk about that. Let me, when you say laugh, like your laugh like, oh, that's a great deal, or laugh as in tears of failure.
I would laugh the same way we laugh at Mark Davis's haircut.
Holy, I'm weak. Jeez.
Yeah, Keith.
Yeah, I mean,
what do you think's going to happen here, Keys? This is a great question. Your thoughts on Tua and the Dolphins situation?
Wait, me or Keys?
You. I'm sorry.
Keys, okay. No, I'm saying, like, I just don't think – I've been saying this for months. Like, I just don't think he deserves that deal. I mean, he hasn't done anything. He hasn't proven to, be that quarterback that deserves that type of money. It's like if the Dolphins somehow they gave him that money. I think they're making a big mistake. In my opinion, I think it's going to hold him back for 4 or 5 years. In my opinion, because I just don't think Tua, not just nobody's questioning. He can throw the ball, even though like Tyreek Hill has to come back and grab the ball a lot of times. But you're looking at his injury history, his concussions. Like, look at the concussions he had. I don't think it was last year. I think it was the year before.
Yeah, it was the year before.
Like, what, back-to-back weeks or whatever?
Dude, I remember at the end of the season, it was like he was in concussion protocol for like 4 months. It was something crazy. They wouldn't even let him participate in OTAs or something like that.
Yeah, like he shouldn't have been playing in that. I remember because they played the Bengals on like Thursday Night Football. He shouldn't have been playing in that game, and he suffered a concussion. And then he ended up going out for how long he went out for. So it's like you look at you have to look at those risks as well. It's like he doesn't deserve the bag, in my opinion. You have to worry about his injury history with his concussions. It's like I just think they're in a stuck position, in my opinion. If I just don't think he deserves it. That's all I gotta say.
No, I agree. It's funny because I kind of agree with both of you guys. The only thing I would say is that I don't have kids myself, but if I had a daughter, I would want her to date somebody like Tua. I think he's a stand-up, really great guy. But I'm gonna tell you what's going to happen. Raven 76 B more. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. He's going to get a deal right before the season starts, just like Trevor Lawrence. He's going to get something crazy. He's going to get the $55 million. The Dolphins are going to go ahead and pay him almost the same money, maybe even more than Trevor Lawrence, and it's going to sink that franchise. I'm telling you this right now. McDaniel is not going to like it. McDaniel will say all the right things in public because he's a smart dude. He's going to just say, "Oh, this is the guy we wanted. This is our guy. Everything's tailored around him." And secretly, he's going to be pissed because he knows that he could do with a quarterback making a fraction of the money and probably do more. But my prediction, Tua is going to get that money, and it's not going to work out. That I'm telling you this right now. It's going to work out. So Tua gets paid from the Raiders next year. They'll pay him in knee implosion.
That would be even greater. Record-setting.
I wouldn't. It's By the way, Denver Gator, I said I was gonna keep my rants to a minimum, and I'm switching gears again. I'm here in Vegas, so I've been following the Raiders on social media. The most popular thing that the Raiders fans are doing now. You guys are not going to believe this. Maybe you've already seen
Antonio Pierce's debt.
That's. If you didn't hear about that, Antonio Pierce's wife filed bankruptcy. She's something like $28 million in debt. If you haven't heard about that, I don't know the details, but yeah, they're filing bankruptcy.
Apparently he is because he invested in some car dealerships.
Is that what it is? Car dealerships?
Apparently didn't look through the paperwork very well. So even though he wasn't like an acting partner or anything, he had like part ownership, like stakes in places, and those owners like used him and basically screwed him over. When those dealerships went down, he was like the guarantor for the debt for each of those dealerships.
Oh, wow.
So they came at, so, I think they saw that he was going to be a NFL head coach, and they finally, Chevy or whoever finally came after him for the debt that was actually racked up by these dealership, like the legit owners, the acting owners. So make sure you guys read your paperwork, get a lawyer, whatever, because he didn't even realize that he was on the hook for the debt that these owners were accumulating. But like he signed the paperwork and his name was on there. So it's kind of a disgusting story, really.
Oh, that is tragic. So what's been going on with Raiders fans, and it's the most popular, and it's several Raiders fans keep posting this. Gardner Minshew stats and Trevor Lawrence stats over the last 3 years, and they're basically almost the same thing. So what Raiders fans are trying to do is say that Gardner Minshew is basically as good as Trevor Lawrence, but the Raiders right now have Aiden O'Connell as a starter going into training camp, but it's definitely going to be a battle. But let me ask you guys, because I'm here in Vegas, I'm seeing this a lot here. Gardner Minshew, that's the same thing as Trevor Lawrence, right?
Wait, what was the question? Sorry.
No, it's a question and a statement. Raiders fans have been saying Gardner, because you look at the last 3 years. So what Raiders fans are putting Gardner Minshew's last 3 years against Trevor Lawrence's last 3 years, and they're basically statistically almost the same. So Raiders fans are trying to convince themselves that Trevor Lawrence and Gardner Minshew are about the same level quarterback.
I mean, they definitely have the right to say that. I mean, Trevor Lawrence hasn't really performed up to standard. I mean, the last few years. I mean, look at last year. I mean, they had one of the easiest schedules last year, and they still couldn't make the playoffs, and he had a down season last year. So it's gonna be curious to see how he comes out this year with the. I mean, I think an improved offensive talent with Brian Thomas Jr. and all the stuff they got in the draft, and I think is it Armstead that they got from the 49ers? I think he's on the defense, right?
Yeah. The Jaguars have made some really underrated moves. We haven't really talked about them. Jacksonville's kind of a team. I'm kind of like, you guys may want to watch out for Jacksonville.
Yeah, they could challenge for the division, but it's just going to be a matter of how Lawrence comes out and plays this season, especially after getting that contract that he just got.
Well, let me ask you this here. Gardner Minshew as your quarterback. Let's just say Gardner Minshew was the quarterback of the Patriots. I mean, he's top 10 quarterback. Is that your thoughts? Or
well, oh yeah. I agree. Well, so what was the question? Gardner Minshew.
Where are you ranking Gardner Minshew?
Dang, I don't even know. Honestly, I mean, probably a top 20 quarterback, I guess, in the league.
Yeah, it was just something the Raiders fans have been doing. They've been convincing themselves that they got a top 10 quarterback in Gardner Minshew, but he's not even entering training camp. Raiders fans are crazy, but like I said, it's literally 700 degrees outside here in the desert. It's just insane.
It would have been nice if the Raiders, because I've been saying like Penix would have been nice there, but like I said, Falcons had other plans there at pick 8. So
there was all sorts of rumors that they were trying to trade with Washington because they really wanted Jaden Daniels.
True,
but they couldn't put a deal together. Keys, let me ask you this here, because we're both AFC West, fans. We're both Chiefs fans here. The Gardner Minshew hype by Raiders fans. Are you're a Chiefs fan here? You're wanting to get to the Super Bowl. How scared are you of Gardner Minshew?
Yeah, listen, I'm a Gardner Minshew fan. I've been rooting for. Well, I won't be rooting for him this year, but most of his career, I've kind of rooted for him. As an accurate passer, I think he's a good quarterback. He's not Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence has athleticism that Gardner Minshew simply doesn't have. I think the frustrating thing about Minshew is that he's a solid quarterback, but he's not even, I couldn't even comparing him like an Alex Smith. And maybe that's a more fair comparison to Trevor Lawrence. Only Alex Smith didn't have a strong arm. Not close to Trevor Lawrence, but the thing about Minshew that I was kind of disappointed in watching over the course of his career is he still makes the dumb throw. Like, he will actively lose you a game, by throwing a boneheaded interception. And I think that ultimately, if the Raiders defense was able to play like they played against the Chiefs on Christmas last year, and they can get that offense moving forward, he can help get you to 8 or 9 games. But I know he's not going to win you a playoff game. I would put more trust in Tua over Gardner Minshew, if that tells you anything. I don't see it from them. And And you know, you got Devontae Adams, and you have a really nice on paper 2 tight end set. But I don't think people are really accounting for how much losing Josh Jacobs is going to hurt not only the offense, but the quarterback position as a whole. Like, he saved their quarterbacks over the years so much, right? And that now we should be talking about how much more dangerous the Packers are.
You're completely correct. I'll go a step further. I think if you were to rank starting quarterbacks in the AFC West and Bo Nix hasn't even played it down, I would still put Gardner Minshew at last. And I like Gardner Minshew. I'll even go a step further. I think if the Colts went into last year with Gardner Minshew as their starting quarterback instead of Anthony Richardson, there's a very good chance they win that division. Remember they were a 4th and 1 drop away from beating Houston in that win and end game. So I mean, you know, but Gardner Minshew. Listen, Raiders fans, if you're watching, Gardner Minshew is not the answer. Quit trying to compare him to Trevor Lawrence. You're just no. You'd be better off going with Aiden O'Connell. Denver. I've been wanting to get this Denver Gator. Allen in Miami. All you would hear is Allen drops back blindfolded, throws 68 yards in the air, fill in the blank with wide receiver. And then Keys has a good point. Josh Allen on the Dolphins, Josh Allen on the Jets, Josh Allen on the Patriots versus Tua on the Bills, Jets, and Patriots. One of those makes legit Super Bowl contenders. The other possible. Your Keys nailed it. That's the difference. That's the difference. Josh Allen makes it. Yeah, there's a level between Allen and Tua. And Keaton, let me ask you a fair question here. And I'm trying to be unbiased here. I can't ask Keys. Isn't there a difference between maybe a smaller one between Allen and Mahomes?
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah. It's not even like, yeah, because they both
Mahomes. Allen didn't.
Yeah, like both Mahomes and Allen like have like somewhat similar skill sets. Like they both can use their legs. They both can make the spectacular throw down the field. Now Josh Allen is more prone to turn the ball over here and there because he does make some boneheaded decisions with the ball. But they are very similar in talent, for sure. But Mahomes is probably slightly above him for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I wish I would have saved that screenshot, and I wish showed you guys the Dolphins fans' delusions here. So I'm making fun of Dolphins fans and I'm making fun of Raiders fans here. And this is there. I think what was it? Gardner Minshew reminds me of Jeff George. By the way, Raven 76B more. I do remember Jeff George. The difference is Jeff George had more arm talent than 99% of the quarterbacks who's ever played. The arm talent was just crazy. They look alike, but Minshew doesn't have near that arm talent. But I would rather have Minshew as my quarterback than Jeff George. But oh god, that talent! I do remember Jeff George though. I really do. So don't insult George. Funk, you're right. If the Raiders go into the thing is that drives me nuts, Funk. Raiders fans are comparing Gardner Minshew to Trevor Lawrence, and I'm like, he's a backup. All right, let's do it. And of course, Keys famously says that Joe Burrow is a system quarterback. There's even a difference between system quarterback Joe Burrow and Tua. And you guys are right. I mean, there's, you know, Tua's not the guy. And trust me, Raiders fans, trust me when I say this. Gardner Minshew's not that guy. He is definitely not that guy. So I'm just telling you this right now. But oh God, Josh Allen on any one of these teams would be very scary, very, 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 very scary. So. Minshew better backup than Carson Wentz with Andy Reid. Ooh. I don't know. I don't know.
That's a good question.
God, that is a good question, man. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of stumped here. Keaton, let me ask you this here: Carson Wentz or Gardner Minshew? Which one's a better backup? That's a good one. I don't know.
That's and right now. I mean, Wentz was like a really good quarterback before he got injured back then when he with the Eagles. But like, if I had to guess right now, the backup with Andy Reid, I probably would. I don't even know. Jeez, I'm stuttering. I'm sure on this one too. I probably would say Minshew just because, like, he makes a simple play. I think Wentz sometimes makes bonehead decisions with the ball, but that's a tough question. I think honestly, either one of those guys would fit well with Andy Reid. It's just a matter of who performs better on a week-to-week basis.
Keys, what do you think here? You're the one who put the question in there. Let me ask you this here: if you could have which one, all numbers are exactly the same, Gardner Minshew or Carson Wentz as the backup quarterback in Kansas City? You're on you're on mute. You're still muted.
That's because I unmuted myself right when you did, Dan. So it like I got remuted. But anyway, that wasn't even my question. I mean, it's a good question. I was asking, I was responding and saying, is Carson or is Minshew really the best backup quarterback in the NFL, or is Carson Wentz under Andy Reid now the best backup in the NFL? But yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question as well. I'll say this. I think it's pretty easy to say that Carson Wentz is the best backup Patrick Mahomes has had as far as talent, right? We're not talking about brain now, right? Talking about talent alone. And that's no offense to Chad Henne or Matt Moore or even Blaine Gabbert last year, but it's just kind of the reality of it. But I think for what Andy would like to do, I think it depends on if we're talking about if Patrick Mahomes missed a game or two, then I think Minshew is fine, and I would go that way. If Mahomes missed like a whole season, I think for the way the offense is set up, I think Wentz would fit more of what Mahomes brings than Minshew. So, I think that would be my answer. Is it depends on, are we talking 1 or 2 games, or are we talking, because I think Minshew, you end up like worse than Alex Smith, because and that's not a slight to Alex Smith. Alex Smith had the athleticism, right? I think Minshew is like closer to Alex Smith without athleticism.
No, it's funny. This is a good one here because Funk never liked Wentz, but maybe Raven 6B more would go with Carson Wentz. And Denver Gator says Wentz because of the coaching. Funk brings up a great question. And he focuses this is towards Keith, but Keith, the question is, who would be better in Vegas? Oh, that is a good one. I who would be better in Vegas, Carson Wentz or Gardner Minshew, or Aiden O'Connell? I'll give you a 3-way there.
Shoot, I mean, like Denver Gator said, it's depending on the coaching. Like I think in Vegas, right, I would probably still say Minshew just because I think he's in the right situation there. I think Wentz would have been a better fit with the Chiefs than I think he would have with the Raiders, just given the coaching. So that's what I would just say. That's what I would say to answer his question.
Keys, let me ask you here because Funk calls you out here a little bit. Who would be better in Vegas? I never would have considered that, but I mean, as far as I know, Wentz wasn't even considered as an option for Vegas.
Yeah, that one's kind of interesting because I think if you look at kind of the more defensive style that team looks like it's going to have, like the defensive personality it's going to have, I think Minshew is going to be a better game manager for that defense, right? If that makes sense. But, um, if you go back to which guy has had the better offensive coaching to get him to this point, that's a different story. I mean, how much do you like Luke Getzey? And how much do you like the offensive coaches that Minshew and Carson Wentz have had? But I think from like an identity standpoint, I think Minshew fits better because generally speaking, right? Because again, if it comes down to it, if it's fourth quarter and you're putting the ball in Minshew's hand and you're expecting him to get you a touchdown or to lead you down the field, I think that's where he folds. But outside of that, I think his ball security is much better. So it's kind of a hard thing to answer because I think Wentz is going to give you a better chance in the fourth quarter. If the offense had a different identity, I'd probably go Wentz. But the way it looks like they're building this team, I think it's easier for Minshew. But we're going to see how successful the offense can be without Josh Jacobs.
No, that's an excellent point. And Perry asked a good question. Do you think Las Vegas can take their time to develop O'Connell? Perry, it's funny because out here, I've been following a lot of Raiders social media, and they're trying to tell me that Gardner Minshew is just as good as Trevor Lawrence. And I think Aiden O'Connell, when everything's said and done, is going to be the starter. And then Funk had a great question, who would be better? Because we started talking about backup quarterbacks. I don't think Wentz really even was in consideration for the Raiders, but out of Wentz, O'Connell, and Minshew, I think Wentz would easily be the best option for the Raiders if they decide to go all in. But I'm telling you this right now, it doesn't matter what the Raiders do this year unless Aiden O'Connell's the guy and he develops big time. The Raiders, whether it's free agency, Dak Prescott, anyone, who they're going to be looking for another quarterback, whether it's draft. Shadir Sanders, who I think is going to be the number one pick in the upcoming draft, but that's up for debate. And we got a whole college football season to go on. But Carson Wentz might even, because it's a one-year deal, he may be in consideration to be the Raiders starting quarterback.
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins. For you Lions fans, maybe Hendon Hooker, who is interesting. But the two tight ends in Adams is going to help. The thing is, though, you nailed it, Keys. For those of you who aren't aware, Luke Getzey was the offensive coordinator with the Bears last year. Right after the season ended, they fired him, which led me to believe that they were going to stick with Justin Fields as their quarterback. Then they got rid of him for a bag of chips. So, I have no confidence that Luke Getzey is really going to get the job done for the Raiders. But nobody wants the Raiders to be good. It's just going to be terrible. I think Minshew can be a solid starter at the right place. I agree completely, Perry. I think that the Colts last year should have built their team around Gardner Minshew and then bring along Anthony Richardson slowly instead of throwing him out there. And he got hurt. He got hurt, and then injured for the whole year. Now you got to bank on Anthony Richardson without Minshew, or if you would have let him kind of grow and develop, you never know. I think the Colts would have won that division with Gardner Minshew as a starting quarterback day one, but he had to be thrown into the role. But no, I agree he can, but I don't think the Raiders Getzey is the right thing. I think O'Connell can develop the arm talent, but the issue is slower than Clark. Yeah, Aiden O'Connell, for those of you that don't know, he is the definition of pocket passer, but the arm talent's really good. But I don't know if you can be a pocket passer in the NFL today. I mean,
Yeah.
It's a different day. I mean, and by the way, there's some pocket passers like we talked about Marino. Marino had excellent footwork. Tom Brady had excellent footwork. He could move around in the pocket, not really a scrambler. Peyton Manning had excellent footwork. I don't know if that Aiden O'Connell can do that or not.
Yeah.
But Keys brings up a great point. 2 tight ends and Adams does help quite a bit. So
That's true. I think Browers is going to really help like that offense a lot, in my opinion. Because you look at Devontae Adams, like he's a great receiver, but he's been double teamed a lot in the past.
Yeah.
Now Brock Bowers comes in there and takes off of Adams for having to get double teamed.
No, the thing is what the Raiders have is some really nice pieces in play. It's like Keith said earlier, I'm not sold on the Luke Getsy, or Keith said he had some questions. I'm not sold on him. I don't think he's really the answer. And I think that in the offseason, the Raiders will be looking to get a new quarterback, unless Aiden O'Connell's the guy and he develops big time. But you worked with Justin Fields last year. Now you're working with Aiden O'Connell. I mean, you're talking about night and day guys here. I mean, you're maybe talking about Justin Fields, fastest quarterback in the NFL, maybe the fastest guy in the NFL. Aiden O'Connell probably the slowest. So, yeah.
I agree.
O'Connell is used to a high-powered offense in college. Okay, I couldn't say Brady had nearly always had great center overall offensive line. Yeah, exactly. That's another thing you have to think about. There is some questions about that Raiders offensive line. Their starting right tackle is now in New York. So, and they didn't really replace him. So, and he also knew where the open man would be 99 out of 100 times before the draft. Another thing is that the Patriots had a really good offensive coaching staff usually. I'm not sold on Getsy at all.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not sold on Getsy at all. If Las Vegas can get good running back play, O'Connell or Minshew could be solid. So they got a guy by the name of Zahir White. Looks like a bodybuilder. He had a really good game on Christmas, which ruined everybody's Christmas. He had like 143 yards. A lot of that was on a long run, but they're asking him to take over from Josh Jacobs. And it's a lot different when you have a 4 or 5 game stretch where you look good and a 17 game stretch. Let me ask you this here, because I've been kind of dogging on the Raiders here a little bit. Keys, the Raiders are in our division here. I mean, what's your prediction for the Raiders here? I'm throwing some curveballs at you today, but are the Raiders a legitimate playoff team?
I'm always more optimistic for the other AFC West teams than, generally speaking, I am for the Chiefs. So, I think, like, at this point, until I see, a chunk of the season, like, to me, most every year, I consider all the rest of the AFC West teams to be, playoff hopefuls. So, it's hard for me to say because we know, there's so many factors right now, right? Mm-hmm. How many interim head coaches have you seen, and what kind of success, do they have the following year? What's Getsy gonna be like as the offensive coordinator there? It's kind of a wait and see thing for me right now, but I think for any of the other AFC West teams, if you made a case for them making the playoffs, I probably wouldn't argue with you too much. I think overall AFC West, or, just the AFC, the conference in general, and mostly even the NFC, I think it's easier to argue against a few select teams as not making the playoffs than, me like here, June 28th saying, this team may or may not make the playoffs. I think a lot of teams have a good shot at it. As I mean, it's little things here or there. right? In general, games are won by one or two or three, plays that are made or missed, or a call that's made or missed, and then you throw in things like new head coaches or offensive coordinators and players. So yeah, I think they have a shot. I think the Chargers and the Broncos also, have a fairly decent shot right now, as we're talking.
Keaton, so let me ask you here, because you're right. You're a Patriots fan. You're wearing the sweet Gronkowski jersey, so you're familiar with Christian Wilkins, who was a big free agent acquisition for the Raiders. So now that you added Wilkins here, what's your opinion on the Raiders here? Is this a team? You're an AFC guy. Is this Is this a team that you're looking at and you're scared of?
I mean, right now, like, I think they're a borderline playoff team. Like, I think they'll be hovering right around the seventh seed or just outside. But it's gonna depend on like the rest of the conference. Like, I think the AFC North obviously is the best division in football. Like, it's gonna depend on if three of those teams from that division make the playoffs. Like, where's that gonna put the Raiders? Like, I think they have to be in the race from start to finish if they want. It's gonna be funny because it's gonna be like, if they make the playoffs as 7 seed, is that gonna be like a 9-win team, or is that gonna be like? I mean, you saw what the Steelers did last year. They got in as a 7 seed at 10 wins. It's like something crazy like that. It's like, I think they have to be right around that 9 to 10 win range to get in my opinion. If they're anywhere less than that, I don't think they're gonna get in. But in my opinion, I think it's going to come down to that AFC North. I think there's going to be at least 3 teams that get in from that division. So,
yeah, I agree completely. I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb. I think the Bengals every year there's a first to worst team. So I think it's going to be the Bengals. The Ravens look loaded. Cleveland could be. I mean, the defense is good. I don't know how that offense is going to work. Is Nick Chubb going to be healthy? Deshaun Watson. I'm higher on the Jets than you are, but I think Buffalo's still a team. We didn't even talk about it, but the Patriots are kind of my sleeper in the AFC because that defense could be amazing. And all you need is average quarterback play of the defense that could be that good. Perry says when it comes down to offensive, is the key for the season for Las Vegas. Yeah, I have no confidence that offense is going to be any good, but Wilkins and Crosby could be dominant. Raven 76B more says keep an eye out on the Chargers. I agree too, but I think the Chargers are really going to take a full year, but you never know. I mean, the talent's there now. They got the coach.
Harbaugh is going to be. I love that pickup for them. That's really going to change that culture. I like the players they have there. So.
I do too. I do think it's going to take a year because the defense was just so awful last year, and Harbaugh's always been a run-first coach. They've been a pass-first coach for so long, and me and Keys have talked about this. Brandon Staley's probably just terrible as a coach. We're all sad to see him go. If you're a Chiefs fan. Denver Gator has a quick question here. Real quick, Keys, what are your initial thoughts on the new offensive coordinator in Iowa? Not familiar with his resume, upgrade, lateral move.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is an interesting one. We're looking at a guy who spent, I think, like 10 years as the head coach at Western Michigan. Last year, I believe he was like a senior defensive analyst for the Packers. I want to say his last year at Western Michigan, their offense dropped down to like 125th or so ranked offense, but in the previous years they were like around like the top 35 or so. He was like the quarterback coach or something in Purdue before that. Kirk Ferentz's reasoning was he wanted someone who had like a lot of different experiences and just like a varied, kind of like the last time I was on, we were talking about Chan Gailey, kind of that kind of mindset. And so I'll answer this by saying two things. Like, one, I think I already said this earlier, but it's almost impossible to have a lateral or worse move over Brian Ferentz. And I don't mean any disrespect to Brian Ferentz. You know, I actually had a class with him at the University of Iowa. And he sat next to me in one class, and we were like making jokes like the whole time. So, you know, we both kind of had that kind of class clown mindset. And that was the one class he actually showed, you know, the one day he showed up to that class. You know, he had a few years under Belichick with the Patriots. So I was really hoping for more for him when he became the offensive coordinator in Iowa City. So the second part of this question is, you know, while he got a lot of the blame, and I think he deserved a lot of it because he was a clear nepotism hire, and, you know, going to Belichick, you know, before kind of hid some of that, right? But Kirk Ferentz and Bill Belichick were on the Browns staff together, you know, so it back with I want to say John Harbaugh as well, you know, a few of those guys. So, you know, that can get hidden there. But it was definitely a nepotism hire. But at the same time, and this is the issue, and it's been the issue with Iowa's offense since like 2002. You know, back when they still had a good offense, Kirk Ferentz hasn't really evolved. You know, he's right there, that Marty Ball mindset. He's an former offensive line coach. You know, be great at the trenches, pound the ball. You know, when you got to throw the ball, have a game manager and a good tight end, which is why Iowa's always had great tight ends during Kirk Ferentz's time there. The offensive creativity has not really evolved during his time there. And it's hard to know how much he's going to finally let go and let an offensive coordinator actually run that offense instead of running the offense by all the set of rules that he gives that person to work under. So that's kind of my answer to that. We'll see. I'm hopeful, but we'll see, because I think that he knows that they got to show a bit more, or he's the next one to leave.
Yeah, you know, and by the way, Denver Gator, I don't know if you caught it or not, but Keys is making a very bold prediction that the offense will outscore the defense and special teams. I don't think that's true. I don't think it's going to happen, but he's predicting that. So, Denver Gator also says, not bad. An hour and a half in, we have our first Chargers preseason hype. Yes, the hype is coming for the Chargers. The hype is coming for the Chargers, the Chargers and the Cowboys. Perry asked a really good question. What are your top concerns for Kansas City and the Pats going into training camp? And by the way, Keaton, I know. So Keaton told me before the show that he's not going to be able to stay on too long. He's got a date with 3 different chicks tonight, so he's gonna have some fun. He's getting ready to leave for a party. So I appreciate you staying on.
Bill Belichick influence.
He's by the way, let's do this here. Can we talk about Belichick having a 24-year-old girlfriend? I mean, Keaton,
I heard about that.
I've seen pictures of it. It's actually legit. It's actually legit. How much of a pimp is Belichick? Let's start with that.
That's funny. I heard about that. I was like, there's no way that's real. I was like, oh, and then all the stuff I saw on the internet, I was like, oh, it's actually real. That's hilarious. I mean, good for Bill Belichick. I mean, shoot. Bill
Belichick is now my favorite head coach.
Was it?
He's not my favorite head coach. I don't care if he has a job or not. He's my favorite. I love it. I love it.
Hilarious. I was like, oh, good for you, Bill Belichick. But yeah, I guess my top concern. Well, what is your top concern for? Well, I guess it would be left tackle, just because that's our weakest spot as of now. I mean, Kate got in the draft, but still work in progress there. So
let me ask you this here: is the plan? I'm drawing a blank. I can't. Third round pick is either Washington or Penn State. I want to say Penn State. Is he going to be the starter day one, or are you going with, I believe it's Okafor, who was the left tackle?
Might be Okafor because we got him for Pittsburgh. He actually had a last year. I think it might be Okafor. I might, but who knows what happens? I mean, either one of those guys can step in, and hopefully it works out on that side because that's so far it's our weakest spot on the offense.
Okay, so Keys, what are your top concerns for the Chiefs?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's necessarily like a full-on concern, but obviously, you have to see the cornerbacks actually be able to successfully, move on from no L'Jarius Sneed. We could say the same thing about the offensive line, right? We still haven't seen yet like that legit left tackle, right? We have to see if Jawan Taylor was able, in this offseason to get everything, clear and cleaned up so that Mike Tirico and the NBC, crew can't ruin 4 or 5 games and try to ruin his career again. I would say, we haven't even seen Xavier Worthy really because of hamstring injury. And that's kind of something that started to happen with Tyreek his last couple of years in Kansas City as well. Hamstring, quad, whatever it was, So, we don't really know what the receiving game is going to look at. We keep hearing, Travis keeps talking about how amazing the Hollywood and Mahomes connection is already. But in a game when those fast guys are getting pressed and it throws the timing off a little bit, it's a little bit different out there. So, I would say those things and staying healthy, and please, for the love of God, no more headlines, because even the headlines that, don't even have anything to do with bad character, right? Like Xavier Worthy getting the tires stolen off of his car or whatever it was.
That's crazy.
Just no more headlines. It's just exhausting.
Well, you heard the latest one where Chris Jones is petitioning to skip parts of training camp.
I heard about that.
No, but it makes sense.
Or no, yeah.
Yeah. I just saw it today. Yeah, but apparently he's asked Andy Reid, like, look, I'm a veteran. I want to take some days off, and Andy Reid hasn't said yes or no. For those of you who do not know, the Andy Reid training camps are maybe the toughest in the NFL. So, yeah, that's almost universally. Every Chiefs former Andy Reid player will tell you that. By the way, Keys, what are your opinion? What's your thoughts here? Bill Belichick, 24-year-old girlfriend. You love it, right?
You know what? I mean, it's kind of crazy. And I'm the one, I'm the one that sent it to you and was trying to convince you. Like,
I didn't believe it at first. I didn't believe it,
right? But,
I didn't believe it at first.
Yeah, it's funny because I forget who it was. It might have been Julian Edelman has a podcast, and if you don't watch it,
really
you should check it out.
Yeah,
I think it was. I think it was on his podcast. It was like him and Gronk or someone. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was a different show. But they were talking about Belichick's rules, and he had three big rules for his players, and one of them was stay away from women. Don't let that become a distraction. No drinking, and I forget what the other one was, but basically Bill's violating these rules. They're like, well, maybe, he's a free agent right now. So, it doesn't really apply to him, but, yeah, I mean, I don't know. And it's hard for me to talk because I have a wife who, still gets carded places, and she works at a school and other teachers and whatever, will yell at her like she's a student. So it's kind of hard for me to say, because it's not exactly fair. So.
Well, Bill Belichick has my seal of approval, so I love it. And by the way, Denver Gator gives you some really good advice, Keaton. 3 dates. If you go out and play in the rain, remember to wear a raincoat. All right? So just
call them
be
all
careful.
baby. That's Dan's advice.
Yes, that's another one. Call them all baby. Yes. Perry says my biggest 2 concerns for the Lions is offensive line backup, and the Lions can stay focused now. Yeah, I mean, let me tell you something. It's human nature to want to be the underdog. There's still Chiefs fans out there that swear that we're the underdog. And it's like, well, we back-to-back Super Bowl winners. We're not really the underdog, but
yeah,
it's human nature to want to be the underdog. It's human nature to also, when you are picked against, to try to play a little better. So it's going to be a different mindset, and it'll be interesting to see how the Lions adapt. Are there any
different ball game with that target on your back?
It 100% is.
Yeah.
It's 100% a different game. Are there any good reports on the left tackle? Yeah, I think he's going to end up being the starter. To be honest, Perry, but they really haven't gone into it. But it is an open battle, and that kind of raises some concern. I don't like the fact you're a key part of your offensive line, left tackle, that they haven't settled in on a starter. But I think Sue Mateo is going to win that battle. I really do. I loved his tape. I wasn't as high on Wanda Morris as a lot of other people, but we're going to find out. We're going to find out.
You don't buy into the David Bakhtiari rumors at all?
No, I'm not buying into that at all. What do you think? Is there a chance? If he says he wants to play, he says he's good to go. I mean, it would be. I'll be honest. It makes sense. I mean, what do you think?
Well, I mean, like the list of what he wants, there's not very many teams that are going to meet it.
Kansas City's one of them.
Last couple of years, like there's one in neon lights is pretty glaring out there, right? Since 49ers have their left tackle and the Eagles have their left tackle and the Lions have their left tackle, right? And so there's not that many legit options. And the Bills just paid their left tackle, right? A good chunk of money. Mm-hmm. So, and the Bengals paid concrete block feet and then drafted another tackle. So, I mean, there's limited options out there if he's serious about it.
I don't know if you heard about this, but there's some talk about that Mims kid that both Trent Brown and Orlando Brown I've just raved about how good this kid looks early on. And then
maybe
Trent
he's
Brown,
a little bit faster than them.
He's a lot faster. They're moving Trent. They've been in early OT. This is OTA, so you can kind of experiment. But they're moving Trent Brown to guard early on, and I'm like,
power run game coming to Cincy.
I guess so. And then they get rid of their running back.
Running back, yeah.
Well,
Perry. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, it's probably not I mean, paying Joe Mixon versus going out and getting a power, running back. I mean, you got to try to save that money to pay as many as Burrow's weapons as possible, since he's that system quarterback, So
he's only a system.
I mean, so I get that, yeah.
And it's going to be interesting. By the way, I've always been a Devin Singletary fan. I just don't think he's that workhorse, 300 and 350 touch guy. I mean, But Perry asked a good question. If Hollywood Brown plays well, should Kansas City re-sign him? Keys, what do you think, man?
Yeah, that one's a really hard one, given how many free agents we have next year. And it's like, what? 60% of the offensive line. You know,
Nick Bolton.
You know, some of the defensive backs. Omenihu was only on a 2-year deal, so you know you'd have to think about Omenihu. This is what, year 3 for Karloftis, so you're probably going to look to extend him as well. You know, Mahomes didn't get a new deal last year. They pushed his money forward, so I would expect he's probably going to get another extension, just to continue to push that quarterback money and make it harder and harder for other teams, right? So case in point with that is the Trevor Lawrence deal, and Tua, if Tua gets his deal, Mahomes is going to keep doing that, right? And so, yeah, I mean, it's hard, and I think that part of that's going to depend on, you know, Xavier Worthy's health, what he looks like. Why is it Wiley, the new tight end? You know what he looks like. You know how Travis looks like. It's going to depend on like all these pieces, how they look. If Hollywood brings an extra dimension or two, like he's not going to bring a Tyreek dimension, but if he can bring kind of a healthy Sammy Watkins plus dimension to it, then I think that depending on what he's looking for, there's probably a deal to be made there. But I mean, he's not getting number 1 money.
No, I agree.
From Kansas City, that is.
No. I think if he re-signs with, by the way, if he re-signs with Kansas City, he'll have to take a team-friendly deal. He'll make more money in free agency, but he may just decide, hey, look, I'm winning. I got Mahomes. Maybe I want to take less instead of going to a bad team. And by the way, Ravens 7-6B more. I'm 100% aware. That's you remember you talked about you had an issue with Harbaugh. Andy Reid's going to figure a way out to fix this. Like they're going to develop a coaching. They're going to develop plays where he doesn't have to fight press man. That's one of the things that Andy Reid does really well. Denver Gator says tight end pass rush. Can Patrick make it through training camp without season ending? Yeah, that's a big one. Maybe some defensive backs depth, but notice he has no problems with Bo Nix, who he says is better than anything the Raiders have. So Harry says Bill Belichick is I don't think she's a corn starter. We'll keep that name to keep me from getting demonetized. I don't think she is. I think she's just a girl who, James Woods is dating like a 25-year-old model. Al Pacino's dating a 25-year-old model. Leonardo DiCaprio trades them in before they hit 25. So, yeah. Crazy. So that's what we're doing. Old pill.
He's living his life. He's showing him.
I love it. I love it. I really do. I do. And just to be clear here, Keys' girlfriend does get carded, but she is old enough. We're just
wife. No.
His wife is
my wife is my girlfriend.
I say girl? Okay, I'm sorry. His wife is old enough to be married. She's.
I don't think she's watching. She would have chimed in by now.
Okay, I was going to say, what's the legal, I don't even know what the legal age in Kansas 16, so she's over 16. So just so you know, Keys' wife is over 16. So let's just make sure we're doing that. Rob Gronkowski was. Oh God, he's with the Rams now. Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
Yeah, Garoppolo was. Yeah. I have a feeling the 49ers are going to have bad. So, I think when Aiyuk leaves, we talked about, we kind of led the show off with this, Perry, but Brandon Aiyuk leaving the 49ers, we all think it's going to hurt, and he's going to help wherever he goes. It's going to be a fun story next week because it doesn't look like they're close in San Francisco. So we're going to figure this out. But
close too. losing those Super Bowls. I think, yeah.
Perry says A-Rod didn't show up because he's doing some more crazy stuff again. A-Rod needs to go back in the darkness, listening to his dolphin makings. Yeah, we talked about. I'll be honest. I have no problem with Aaron Rodgers missing training camp. I am surprised there's not more people aren't talking about Lamar Jackson missing training camp, and I think that's a much bigger story. And the cap is going up. This is an interesting take. I think press man will be banned in the NFL soon. Now, Keaton, what are your thoughts?
Press man be banned in the NFL soon. That's an interesting comment. I don't know if it. I actually don't know if it will be. Honestly, that's a lot of teams still do it, especially once the playoffs roll around. Like a lot of receivers get jammed at the line of scrimmage. Like I think in my opinion, I think it's good for the game. You just gotta be able to find a way to separate. I mean, I think that's the thing. That's the one thing my team struggles with is separation. So hopefully, hopefully we can. Hopefully this year will be a different story with that. But I don't think it's gonna be banned. But that's an interesting comment though, for sure.
Keys, what are your thoughts? I think press man will be banned in the NFL soon.
Yeah, I don't think so. And you know, if you did that, you would also have to get rid of the 5-yard buffer for illegal contact, and it would just cause so many more issues. Like and I think the biggest outside of that, you know, from like a strategic reason, from like a coaching reason, the reason I don't think it will is because like Andy Reid and Mike McDaniel and Shanahan and, you know, some of these good offensive minds are playing around with motion to take away from that, you know, a good deal anyway. There are so few guys out there that are great press cornerbacks, and I think if this was the way that they were heading, I think you would have seen that L'Jarius Sneed would have had even more, like, just, you know, such a great value as a cornerback, right, in a trade. And I think it's because you know that L'Jarius Sneed probably can only play that way in a few defenses. You know, the Chiefs have the secondary that allows him to play that way, and just murder Tyreek Hill. But you know, I don't think it's that big of a problem. Guys just got to learn how to beat press, and you know, the guys that haven't gotten there yet, that's what the motion is there for, right? You put the guys in the slot, you do that return motion, right? And it's just too hard when you do that return motion back and forth, right? It's like you always have the leverage if you play it right. Like, you're not going to get pressed for those guys if you know what you're doing as an offensive mind and you utilize motion in the right way.
So, yeah, Perry, I'll take an opposite angle because me and you are about the same age because, you know, you said you'll be 50 soon and you still get carded. Nice. The Mel Blount rule. Horse collar tackles were a long time thing in the NFL. This year they're introducing the no hip drop tackle. I'm not sure how that's going to work, to be honest with you. The new kickoff changes. I think there is a possibility that this could actually happen. And by the way, you said it too. The NFL wants more offense, and they will call it player safety. If they want player safety, by the way, they would go with all grass. But I mean, that's another thing. I think that this is a possibility. I don't want to see this happen. I think the NFL. So there was a drop in scoring this year. It was like the biggest drop in I think it was last 8 or 10 years or something like that. NFL ratings still went up. And I hopefully NFL executives are going to stop trying to make rules to benefit the offense and realize that good defense, people still want to watch that. I'm an old school guy. I love watching a 17-13 game almost more than I like watching a 42-38 game. I can tell you live, the lower scoring games are much more entertaining. Much more entertaining. And by the way, Raven 76 Be More, nobody thought this about a lot of different rule changes that have happened. You go back in NFL history, we were talking about all-time great players. There's a guy by name, if you don't know who he is, look up Dick Night Train Lane, who invented the clothesline. They made it illegal. So then he started tackling people by the face mask. That became illegal. They always make changes, so you never know, but hopefully not. I'm glad Keys brought this up because I wanted to talk about this and I kind of forgot about it. And I have a take on this. I'll start off with Keys. There have been talks about a separate quarterback salary cap. Not sure how that would work. I think you would just exempt them. So if you haven't heard, there's a proposal by the NFL Rules Committee that are talking about making a separate salary cap for quarterbacks. Keys, what are your thoughts on that? Since you brought it up, I'm glad you did, by the way. Okay, Keys, you're muted.
Every time.
There you are. All right.
I think it's a dumb idea, and I don't understand how it would work. Like, why would you just have a separate salary cap for quarterbacks? Like, if anything, just exempt them from the salary cap. But even then, like, I enjoy the strategy of a front office having to figure out how to build around, build their team, build around the quarterback. So, for me, I want to see it stay the same, the way it is. And, I'm saying that even with the fact that, Mahomes is going to be the first billion-dollar player in the NFL. And, a new contract is coming soon.
Keaton, have you heard about this yet? Or is this the first time you're hearing about this, about the separate quarterback salary cap?
It's the first time I'm actually hearing about this, actually.
Yeah, so what? It's a proposal, so it's not. It's just something that the NFL's throwing around. But I mean, what were your thoughts here? When if they did have a separate quarterback salary cap?
I mean, that's definitely something different. I mean, it would definitely give them an opportunity to. Actually, I don't know. Actually, that's a good question. Pretty new to this. I'm just hearing about this one, so I'm not really sure.
Okay, I threw a curveball at you here. I know you got your 3 dates waiting here, so you can keep me behind. I apologize because you told me, and I appreciate you coming on. I know you got 3 girls waiting for you, but yeah. I by the way, if you haven't heard about this, the NFL is making this proposal. I hate this because I think part of it is building your team and building the quarterback, and that's part of the game within the game. Hopefully it doesn't come to fruition, but more and more teams are pushing for this. Supposedly one of the guys that threw this out there was Jerry Jones, who's paying Dak Prescott. I think it's $59.5 million this year, but then his contract's up next year. So we'll find out about that. Big Bo believer. I'm very excited about a rebuild. We're getting younger in all the right places. This is cautiously optimistic, but I think we'll be back. I do too, Denver Gator. I don't think you're going to be a player in the 2024 playoffs, but in 2025, I think Denver's going to be dangerous. I think we're going to see a lot of it. But we'll wait and see how successful Baltimore is with Derrick Henry, and can he still be the same guy at 30, and Lamar Jackson, who's lost 20 or 25 pounds this offseason. We're going to find out about that. The only way I don't get carded is if I grow out the beard, don't cut my hair. By the way, Ravens Be More. Yes. By the way, the Ravens 2000 defense, one of the best in the NFL. And by the way, Perry, you're right. The NBA and the NHL took away the best defensive systems for more offense. So that's why I think that you have something, that there is a possibility that there could be, they could eliminate press coverage. It's actually a possibility. I hope they don't.
Yeah, I'll see.
Yeah, it would be terrible. And Denver Gator says eventually we'll hear a 15-yard penalty on defense. Number 54 threw his too hard. The salary cap, but I think I don't think it's going to happen, but you never know. And by the way, Perry, you are right. It absolutely could happen. It really could, because there's been so many changes throughout the years of the NFL. So, Hannah is just tiny, and then getting carded at 50. Well, Perry's a stud. I think they need a cap per positions. You know, it's just I like the way it is right now, but they could institute that. It depends. You never know, but it could happen. Denver Gator says he likes the idea of separate salary caps. You can play quarterback worth in tiers and not break your team with subpar quarterback being way overpaid. And then you're saying that's why Keys responds is that's why he likes it, because it creates more quarterback front office drama. Not my problem. The teams that got it worked out. For example, the Trevor Lawrence contract is actually really genius if he plays really well, because it's a 5-year extension. So the next 2 years is on his rookie deal. Then it's a 5-year extension. And this also makes the CJ Stroud contract coming up. They're talking about him making $70 million when he renews his contract in a few years. The Tua contract's going to be difficult. What's Purdy going to make? What's a fair contract for Brock Purdy? I mean, sure. So we're going to find out here. And by the way, Perry, I agree with you. Keaton and Keys, I don't think do, but I remember when they changed the rules in 78, they called it the Mel Blount rule. By the way, Mel Blount led the NFL in interceptions after the rule change, but we'll find out here. Guys, unfortunately, I saw on Twitter, Big Chief Sean shot me a message. He's having technical difficulties. He said something about the barbecue sauce got on his equipment. One of the girls sat on his camera. He wasn't able to come on. So for the viewers, I was looking forward to having Big Chief Sean come on, but hey, ribs and 3 strippers. Hey, I get it. I understand. So maybe next time, Big Chief Sean. Keaton Talk Sports has 3 girls waiting on him. I know Keys is getting ready to party tonight for this weekend. So I'm going to try to wrap things up here. So if you have any final thoughts or questions in the chat, please go ahead and comment here. We'll get these final questions answered, and then Keaton can go on his 3 dates, and Keys is going to party this weekend as well. I don't know. Yeah, Keys says he doesn't understand position caps too. No, I don't think it's going to happen. I actually don't think it's going to happen, but there's been talk about that. Hey, Raven76B more, thank you so much for the love. He says great live, Dan. And the key word is can T-Law. Yeah. And it's key, but if he does, that contract's going to be a bargain basement deal. So, Keys, I'm going to start with you, man. Final thoughts, words, comments, anything at all you want to throw out there as we end the show.
I just appreciate you having us on here, Dan, and thanking everyone for spending their Friday night with us. But, other than that, it's June 28th, and a lot of things are going to happen over the next 2 months or so, and then once the season starts, a lot more is going to happen, and we'll be wrong about some things, and that's fine, but you know what,
it didn't even occur to me. Next week's show is going to be July 5th, so July the 4th will be on a Thursday. It's 6 days from now, so I won't, since I'm not going to be on until after the 4th, I hope, Keys, I hope you and your family are going to do something really fun for the 4th of July. Everybody out there have a wonderful 4th, since it's 6 days away. So I kind of forgot. I forgot about that. But Keaton, before you get going on your 3 dates here, by the way, since I won't get a chance to talk to you, we communicate, of course, through Instagram and everything. But have a wonderful 4th of July.
Appreciate
Hey man, thank you for coming on and postponing all 3 of your dates. So what are your final thoughts here before you go out and have a lot of fun?
Thanks for having me on. It's always a blast coming on here and talking football for you. Like I said, it's getting close to the season, so it's a long, anxious wait. So it's coming. So I'm just excited to talk football and get things going.
The Patriots get to run.
I'm just hoping for improvement here. That's all. And hopefully next year we can get back in the division. So we'll see.
I'm gonna tell everybody. I know football seems like it's a long ways away. It's going to get here a lot faster than you think. Seriously, that Chiefs Ravens game, 2 months and less than a week away. Less than a week away. It's coming really fast. So everybody, listen. Social media links are below. The BetUS link is below. Check that out. It's free money. That's all I have. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to check out Keaton Talk Sports and the Back Talk Brothers. Excellent channels. They're going to be putting out some more stuff here in the future, so make sure you subscribe to their channels if you haven't already. I'll see everybody back on July 5th. Have a happy and safe 4th of July. I'll see you next Friday.
Peace out.